Good evening, everyone. This is the September 9th, 2020 meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission.
Oh, there's some feedback on it?
My name is Michael Garland. I'm chairman of the Auburn Conservation Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. It's not doing it now. Tom Fallon.
Present.
Michelle Colross.
Present.
Carolyn Corribo.
Present.
Allison Holmes.
Allison Holmes.
Allison Holmes.
Allison Holmes.
Nathan Rand.
Nathan Rand.
Present.
Tony
Tony
Romney.
Present.
Okay. And there are also
And there are
town
also
officials
town
and
officials and
employees who are
employees who are
participating. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Building Commissioner
Caleb Moody.
And DDIS
DDIS
Director
Director
Darlene Coyle.
Darlene Coyle.
Here.
All right. Again, good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Conservation Commission is now being called to order at 7:01 p.m. The meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the ongoing state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the Governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location.
Further,
All members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting on the town's website, which is auburnguide.com, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely
so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by remote participation for the public only, and we're meeting in the Selectmen's meeting room in the Town Hall. And town employees who are here are practicing social distancing in accordance with the Governor's orders. For
the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, call 1-408-650-3123 and enter access code 942-845-549. Or the public can join via computer at gotomeeting.com/join/942-845-549. The remote access information has also been posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. And please note that this meeting is also being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. So accordingly, those members of the Conservation Commission, employees, and members of the public who participate, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. So all meeting materials that will be addressed at tonight's meeting have been provided to members of this body and are also available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. So with respect to our ground rules for the meeting, permit me to cover some of those ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. So I, as chairman of the commission, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, more or less, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. And for any response, please wait until I, as chair, yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in discussions with other members, please do so through the chair, meaning me, taking care to identifying yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. 1, I will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify themselves by their names and addresses only. And once I have a list of all public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford approximately 3 minutes for each comment, for any comments. And also, finally, each vote taken at this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. And as always, if technical difficulties arise, I will suspend the meeting until we can resolve those difficulties. Knock on wood, that will not be the case. So having said that, the first item on tonight's agenda is David Masson for a notice of intent for reconfiguration of an existing parking lot and removal and restoration of a portion of the former Faith Avenue right-of-way from pavement to vegetation at 54 Faith Avenue. Is there a motion open? So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that. This is Allison.
All right. Any objection? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed to vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Scott, are you present?
I am, yes. Good evening.
Good evening. So, Mr. Scott, several members of the commission met with you at Faith Avenue 2 Saturdays ago, as you will recall.
Yes.
And we,
Yes.
we reviewed or looked at the area that you are proposing to reconfigure. Do you have any additional comments to offer us?
No, other than that, we did look at that area in detail. That's the lower right corner of sheet C201 if someone is bringing it up. But no, other than that, I have no further comments. But happy to answer any questions.
I was present along with Allison Holmes and also with Tom Fallon. The scope of work that was proposed, or what we saw at the site, matches the scope of work that's proposed in your filing. Do any members of the commission have any questions for Mr. Scott?
No.
I will take that as a no. Are there any members of the public who wish to ask Mr. Scott any questions? There being none, and if there's no further discussion, is there a motion to close?
Make a motion that we close the public hearing. Tom Fallon.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Nathan
I'll second
Randall.
I'll second that.
All right, I'm going to give it to Nathan because he beat you just by a second, Carolyn.
Okay, no problem.
All right, is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
No opposition, it's a vote. Thank you, Mr. Scott. I believe we will get to the order of conditions this evening.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. We have about a minute before the next public hearing, so I'm going to wait until it's about 7:10.
Okay. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the 7:10 public hearing, Guaranteed Builders and Developers, Inc., for a notice of intent to demolish an existing 22-foot by 24-foot garage and construct a 24-foot by 24-foot garage at 24 Byland Avenue. Is there a motion open?
Is there a second?
I'll second. Michelle Colorado.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, it's a vote. Ms. Keegan, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. So good evening.
Awesome. Good evening. My name is Karen Keegan. I'm from Guaranteed Builders, and I will be representing Ms. Taylor tonight. The
Okay,
lot
why don't
is
you-
the lot is
Go ahead.
on 24. The lot is at 24 Byland Ave. It consists of 11,600 square feet. It is situated on the northerly side of Byland Ave and along the Stoneville Reservoir. There's an existing house on the lot, was built about 1975, prior to 1975, and it's serviced by both town water and sewer. The existing house and attached garage, decks, and driveway are all within the 100-foot buffer of that reservoir. The applicant proposes to demolish the 22 by 24 attached garage and construct a 24 by 24 attached garage. The existing garage now is 24.2 feet from the edge of the wetlands that are associated with the pond. The proposed garage will be 22.7 feet from the edge of the wetlands. The limit of disturbance will be 9 feet from the wetlands and to be staked with construction fence and a double row of straw wattles. And the area where the proposed garage will be demolished and rebuilt is right now currently lawn. Currently, the foundation that the garage is on is not a real stable foundation, so they would like to take that foundation up and put a new foundation in. And the lawn will be restored once construction is done. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay.
This is the chairman. I have a few questions. I'm curious, why is the garage being extended by 2 feet?
They wanted just a little bit larger garage, that's all.
Okay. What we also, Ms. Keegan, I don't know if you've appeared before our board before, but we
I
always,
have.
okay, so I think you know, then we like to take a look. And so I think, I'm familiar with the property generally. We're certainly familiar with Stoneville. I wonder if we could schedule a site walk with you to take place prior to our next meeting on September 23rd.
That would be fine.
Okay. We normally do our site walks on Saturdays because that's when people tend to be available. Would you be available this Saturday or the following Saturday?
I could possibly do this Saturday. Do you do mornings?
We try to shoot for 9 a.m. Yes.
Okay.
So could you do 9 a.m. on Saturday, September 12th?
I could.
Okay. Is that agreeable to you, Tom?
Yeah, I'm available this Saturday.
Okay. And Ms. Keegan, you have the authority to continue the public hearing on this matter to our next meeting on September 23rd. Is that correct?
I do.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. So in that case, then, can I have a motion just to continue the public hearing for 24 Byland Avenue to September 23rd?
Can I ask, does anybody have any questions that they'd like me to answer prior to going out for this walk?
Speaking for myself, I don't. Other members of the commission may. That's one of the reasons why we like to take a look. We do these site walks. So things that, our experience has been things that are represented two-dimensionally can sometimes appear differently in the wild.
Okay.
This is Michelle Colorado. I do kind of have a question. Instead of going
Go ahead.
back with the garage, is there any way that they could pull it forward or split the difference? Instead of going into the 25-foot buffer backwards, it looks like it's a driveway.
I think it will encroach on the front yard setback. So we're trying to avoid encroaching on that front yard setback.
So, Ms. Keegan, you understand that if we allow the reconstruction of the garage, you're going to need a waiver from us, correct? Because even though it's a small portion, there is construction within the 25-foot no-build zone.
Yes.
Okay, all right, as long as you understand that. So, in that case, I believe Tom made a motion to continue the public hearing in this matter to September 23rd. Is there a second?
This is Carolyn. I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
it's a vote. So, Ms. Keegan, we'll see you this Saturday at 9 o'clock.
Okay, that's great.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where are we? 5 minutes.
Okay, we have a few more minutes before our 7:20 public hearing. I don't know, I'm going to take something out of order. I don't know if any of you had a chance to review the meeting minutes for our June 24th meeting. As you will recall, that I think that is Ginger's first attempt to do our meeting minutes. And I think I would like to defer acting on those minutes. I think we're probably more comfortable with more of a summary form of the meeting minutes as opposed to almost like a transcript, a meeting transcript. So I think for that reason, I'm going to request that we continue or defer action on the meeting minutes of June 24th, unless anyone has a strong objection to that.
I agree with you, Mike.
This is Carolyn. Mike, I have a question. Does that mean she will redo them?
I think so. I think and just to be clear, I certainly don't mind being quoted, but I think it can be rather unwieldy. I think we're used to having our meeting minutes done in more of a summary form instead of more of a verbatim, transcript or representation. And so, yes, I think the anticipation would be that they will just be redone to reflect the way our meeting minutes have typically been done over the years.
Okay, thank you. I agree.
All right, thank you. So, Ginger, I know you are muted. I don't know if we have any other business scheduled for September 23rd. If we don't, could you please put on 24 Byland Avenue as our 7 p.m. Public hearing? Thank you.
Okay, I can do that. We do have two new ones that came in yesterday and today for your next meeting.
Okay. So you know what? I was going to say I'll leave it to your discretion. That's fine. If you want to put the new matters on for 7 and 7:10, and then schedule 24 Byland Avenue for 7:20, that's also fine.
Yep. Good.
Okay. All right. I can do that. Yep.
Outstanding.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The next matter on our agenda is a 7:20 public hearing, Casella Waste Management of Mass, Inc. It's a notice of intent for modification to the stormwater drainage system at the southern portion of the facility at 15 Hardscrabble Road. Is there a motion open?
So moved, Tom Bell.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Nathan.
This is Carolyn. Okay.
Okay. Nathan beat you again, Carolyn.
No, I know. He's on there.
Okay. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. All right. It's a vote. Mr. Walsh, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. And yourselves?
I'm good, sir. Are you calling from Maine?
I am. Yeah, this is long distance, I guess.
Well, look at it this way. We saved you a trip.
It does cut out a few hours of driving, that's for sure.
Okay. So if you don't, we received your materials. Could you just kind of summarize what your plan is for 15 Hardscrabble Road?
Okay, if it helps, I'll give a little background on the facility. Does that help at all?
Please.
And then roll.
Absolutely.
Okay. So thanks. My name is Mike Walsh with Walsh Engineering Associates out of Westbrook, Maine. But we're here to talk about Casella's stormwater project at 15 Hardscrabble Road. It's adjacent to Dark Brook Reservoir, just on the west side, I guess it is, of Hardscrabble Road. It's a materials recovery facility. I just over time have called it a transfer station, and that does it a disservice. It both takes in municipal solid.
Jesse, is this a podcast you will definitely tune into? I've never listened to one podcast.
Was that something directed to me?
No, it's not. It sounds like someone had a podcast going on in the background.
Okay.
So if any of you are, listening to a podcast, please mute that. Go ahead, Mr. Walsh, continue.
Thank you. So anyways, it's what they call a material recovery facility, or MRF. They receive generally municipal solid waste, typical garbage, and recyclables. The solid waste is tipped on the floor, consolidated into tractor trailers, and shipped off-site to landfills or incinerators, whereas recyclables are received on adjacent tipping floors and processed on-site, where they're segregated into their different components like plastics, paper, cardboard, metals, and so forth for consolidation into or as feedstock for a new product down the road. So it's a relatively busy facility based on its use, and we're trying to start a project here, or continue several projects, honestly, to improve stormwater quality at the site. And that's the purpose of this NOI. There is a wetland delineated across Hardscrabble Road where storm drainage exits. If it's possible for you to scroll to sheet C1.0, it's probably at the end of the document or towards the end. If not, I'll just continue to discuss it.
Well, we have them in our packet.
Okay. I'll give you a minute to get to, it's a large format drawing, C1.0.
Yep, okay.
I guess I better go to it myself. The wetland is delineated across Hardscrabble Road. This work is just outside the 100-foot BVW that encroaches some of the pavement on the eastern part of the facility. If you can see the trucks, you see the large building on site, and that's one primary building on site. There's an undeveloped portion of the site to the north, but everything we're talking about, all the work is really on the south side of the building there. And once you look at C1.0, it shows in a hatched area that really the area disturbance is what that hatched area is. And this is to install additional stormwater inlet structures, conveyance piping, to get stormwater below grade into a pretreatment device prior to discharging to the on-site oil water separator and detention basin, which sits on the eastern side of the site. Essentially, this does not change the storm drainage on site. It's not collecting a larger area. We're just adding additional structures. So that what we're adding are 3 separate catch basins on the south side of the building. That's the start of the expanded system. It combines with a trench drain that will be expanded, replaced essentially, that sits just east of those 3 catch basins.
And then it all combines and runs through a stormwater RX is the manufacturer. It's called a Clara 40C is the model. And it is a very effective sedimentation device. So what we're primarily trying to do is limit the amount of TSS that comes from this area and migrates towards the oil water separator and pond. They're very efficient at what they do. In fact, in one unit, it's really an offline settling device. The pattern of flow essentially segregates itself, whereas if you have high flow, it'll hydraulically jump and go straight through the system, through the unit. But in normal conditions, it travels in a pattern where it goes through a weir from one chamber to the next and then returns to that, flow or path through the unit and out. I'm not describing it well, but what that means is in high flows, you're not getting scouring and resuspension of solids. You're getting very effective sedimentation from this unit. So it's really not a change to the drainage area. It's just really a more complete system within the existing subcatchment area in that part of the building. And at the end of this disturbed area, if you see it on C1.0, we connect with the existing drainage system. In fact, a lot of this overlays the existing drainage system that's there. We're just improving the system and the structures that are there to convey it. In order to size the unit, we used HydroCAD modeling, and we sized it to the water quality volume of 1 inch of 1 inch rainstorm. And that's well within the capacity of the Model 40C to effectively do its job, removing sediment. We have submitted plans to the town engineer for review. They did an initial review and provided comments. We've just responded with a reply with some modifications, fairly minor. And I think received good comments, and I don't see any issues with Mr. Coyle's office there. Hopefully I'm right. Hopefully he agrees. But anyways, I think that should not be a hurdle to approval.
So, Mr. Walsh, I haven't seen Mr. Coyle's comments or your response, and I think you know us pretty well. You know we like to take sidewalks.
You do.
So I wanted to find out if you're available either this weekend or next weekend, so we can make a sidewalk of the facility.
Yeah, that would be great. I am available either day, either Saturday, this Saturday or the following.
All right. So I was going to suggest perhaps we could meet you at Hardscrabble Road, 9:30.
Sure.
This Saturday.
This Saturday, 9:30.
I mean, we should. Yeah, I mean, filing shouldn't take that long, right? So I was going to suggest, if you're available, that we meet you at Hardscrabble Road at 9:30 this Saturday, which is September 12th. Is that agreeable to you?
It is.
Okay. And sir, I presume you have the authority to continue the public hearing in this matter to September 23rd. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay, perfect. In that case, may I have a motion from a member of the commission to continue the public hearing in this matter?
This is Allison. Can I ask a question? The digital file of that site plan doesn't seem to be available on the digital files. So I really pictured a CAD plan picture that really helps me to see what it is that we're talking about. So if we could make sure we get that before the site visit, that would be great.
Certainly.
Okay. In fact, perhaps you can email it to our administrative assistant, who's Ginger Buto, Mr. Walsh.
Right. I will do that.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? In that case, there being none, is there a motion to continue the public hearing for Casella Waste Management to September 23rd?
I move that we move the Casella Management to September 23rd at what time, Ginger? Sorry.
Probably 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30.
Okay, 7:30.
Okay, and that was Michelle. Is there a second?
This is Allison. I'll
Okay.
second that.
All right, Tom actually beat you to the punch. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, it's a vote. Okay, Mr. Walsh, we will see you this Saturday at 9:30 a.m. and thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Chairman Garland?
That would be me.
This is Attorney Phil O'Connell calling in as instructed regarding my matter regarding 86 Rochdale Street in Auburn.
Yes, Attorney O'Connell, good to hear your voice, sir.
Nice hearing yours and your committee.
So, Attorney O'Connell, if you could just briefly explain to the commission what you want to do with respect to 86 Rochdale Street.
Right. The Auburn Conservation Commission issued an order of conditions to Darrell Ravati on June 12, 2019. Since that time, he has not done any work on the premises, and he's planning to do it right now, but with COVID and a bunch of things have happened. But since the time he was issued an order of conditions, he had a land swap with his next door neighbor. So what I'm trying to do is just get a partial release of the order of conditions against Mr. Ravati applicable to that parcel he transferred to the next door neighbor. And if the commission, so the partial release should be just good enough, and that's all you need to do. If you prefer, I also submitted a new modification of the order of conditions you issued, including that new parcel also. So you can decide how much you want, and I just appreciate on behalf of the Ravatis and the next door neighbor who is now selling the property, which brings a little urgency to this matter from my regard, is because when they sell the property, they will not be able to give clean title to the purchaser because they have an order of conditions on a portion of their land that was previously owned by Mr. Ravati.
So my question is as part of the land that was swapped with the next door neighbor, the order of conditions affects that parcel of the property, but to your knowledge, are there any wetlands on that portion of the property?
No.
There aren't. Okay. Because,
no.
All right. Okay, and the meets and bounds description that you attached, that is the existing property. Strike that. So it says your proposed Lot A, and I presume that the order of conditions affected the Lot A. Is that correct?
Right. I mean, exactly. The lot of the attachment to my partial release, proposed partial release, is a portion of the original Ravati property that was transferred, and that's what we need a release for. If you so.
All right. Now I understand. So the land that was swapped is described in Lot A, and that the description is based on a survey that was prepared, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. I think I understand. Do you have a preference, Attorney O'Connell, because you've given us an option here? The first is the partial release, which also has the legal description. The second is the order of conditions modification agreement. Is your preference? Do you have a preference for one over the other?
Well, no. I think if the board wants
the whole new Ravati property to be under the order conditions, you have to do both.
Okay.
I basically just need the partial release for the next door neighbor, Hebert. So if you're satisfied that you're satisfied with the order you're on, 90% of Ravati's current property, you don't need something further recorded. That's fine with me also. But it depends upon the board what they want. If they want Mr. Ravati's total new property to be covered by the order conditions, then that's fine with us also.
Okay. I think that under an abundance of caution, I would probably do both. I think that is more comprehensive. That's me.
And that is, I agree with you, and that's fine with us.
Okay. All right. Do any members of the board have any questions for Attorney O'Connell? There being none, are there any members of the public who have any questions for Attorney O'Connell regarding 86 Rochdale Street? Okay. All right. There being none, Attorney O'Connell, we will discuss this matter at the close of our agenda today. So I want to thank you for calling in. I'm glad that you're able to join us, and you'll hear from us soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and consideration. Good night.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right. The next matter on our agenda, or it's under other business, is a request for an extension of an ORAD for 319 Washington Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting, here to speak on that matter.
Well, thank you, Mr. Arnold. I was just going to ask if anyone was going to represent the applicant. I'm glad you're able to join us. So why don't you, we saw the letter from Scott Goddard. Why don't you just summarize what your intention is, sir?
So this is a request to extend an ORAD that was issued in November of 2017 for 319 Washington Street. And the order is set to expire this fall. And we've filed a request to file an extension. We'd like to get 3 years. The applicant is still trying to determine what he'd like to do with the property, and considering the current dynamics of this year's economy. It's also kind of throwing a wrench in the system. So he's looking to get an extension just so that he can know that the wetland line's confirmed, so he can figure out what he wants to do with the property in the future.
Now, Mr. Arnold, can you tell us when was the last time anyone went to check the wetland boundary line?
I'm not sure. I know I've been out there since the ORAD's been issued. I don't remember the date, though, but I'm pretty sure I was out there making sure the flags were still up. If the commission wants us to make sure those are still up, we can have that confirmed. Or we could have the surveyors go back and resurvey them if the commission wants to confirm that they're still up there. There's no activities on the site, and the applicant knows that any activities within the buffer zone would require a notice of intent before the commission.
I mean, I would tend to agree with you that the wetland line hasn't changed, but it would be nice to be able to go out there and see if it's still flagged and what it looks like, because as you indicated, it has been almost 3 years. Would it be possible for us to make a site walk?
Certainly, we could do that.
Okay. And so far, we have 2 site walks scheduled for this Saturday. Would you be available this Saturday?
Yes, I could make this Saturday work for a site walk.
Okay, so I believe we're going to be at 15 Hardscrabble Road probably for a good half hour. So I would suggest, or maybe even a little bit longer, why don't we try to meet you there at about 10:15 on Saturday. Does that work for you?
10:15 on Saturday works for me.
Perfect. If we're not there exactly at 10:15, please indulge us. We will definitely get there as soon as we can.
Understood.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Arnold.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question, another matter, I see 33 Sword Street was on the agenda. Was that something else? I do know the property, so I wasn't sure if that was something that you needed me for.
Well, as a matter of fact, it is the next item after Rochdale Street, so I was going to bring it up. As you know, I believe we have received a request from Webb to be allowed to wash their trucks in the parking lot. And I know that this matter had come up probably last year. I believe there was a meeting that you and Mr. Reisner attended, and I believe at that time Mr. Reisner was opposed to it.
I mean, that is correct, just because any washing of the trucks usually ends up with water traveling into the on-site catch basin on 31 Sword Street, and that discharges directly to the wetland without any type of pre-treatment, which is just a concern to have that kind of potential discharge of any soaps or washing of fluids into the wetlands directly. So I think that would just be a concern I would just like to raise, but at this moment, that's all I have to say.
Well, you know, to be honest with you, I'm surprised that the applicant, this has been on our agenda, I think, for the last 2 meetings, and the applicant has not appeared at either time. So my attitude is, and especially given the fact that there was opposition to it last year, so my attitude is that if the applicant is not going to present it, we're not going to take it up. So we're not going to take any action on that request for the time being. My memory is that we were going to send a letter to them advising them that they needed to attend one of our meetings or a meeting remotely to make their case. And what I will do is I will check with our assistant to see if that letter has gone out. If it hasn't gone out, we'll schedule this probably for either for the next meeting, which is September 23rd, or maybe our first meeting in October. Okay, but at this time, because the applicant is not presenting the request, we are not going to take any action on that.
Understood. Thank you so much, Chairman. I appreciate it. I just hope the commission will take this matter into grave consideration if the applicant does present before them, considering the stormwater system and the direct discharge to the wetlands that can occur off those parking lots. We just want to make sure things are done right. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Good evening.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I did speak with them about 33 Sword. They said they will be submitting something. They just didn't know when they would be handing it in yet.
Okay, thank you, Ginger.
You're welcome.
Okay. And then the last 2 items were 385 Southbridge Street, which were the arborvitaes that are dying at the Auburn Mall, or at least some of them are. And then I reported at the last meeting that the rubber tube that was leading from the adjacent property into the pond at 250 Leicester Street had been removed. So that both of those items can come off of our agenda. So before we close the meeting, we have an order of conditions to issue for 54 Faith Avenue.
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion that we issue a standard order for special petition numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 11, 12, and 13.
Okay. Is there a second?
This is Nathan, I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? All right, it's a vote. Ginger, did you get those?
Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 11, 12, and 13.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Is there any new business? If there's no new business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, we can take up the release of the order of conditions.
Oh, pardon me. Jeez. Thank you. So with respect to Attorney O'Connell's request for the release of the order of conditions or partial release for 86 Rochdale Street, is there any discussion? I believe, having conferred with Attorney O'Connell, as you heard, I believe it is probably best that both documents be signed. So the first document is entitled Partial Release of Order of Conditions, and that would be signed by each of us and then notarized. The second one would be a document that would also be signed by Mr. Ravati and also by the commission. So that's something that we'll have to coordinate with Attorney O'Connell. That's something I can certainly do. So if there's no discussion, is there a motion to issue a partial release of order of conditions and also agree to the modification agreement that's attached to that partial release?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that. That's Allison.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? All right, it's a vote. All right, everyone, thank you. If there's no new business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Yeah, that was Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second that. It's Michelle.
All right, Michelle, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, it's a vote. All right, everyone, thank you very much. We'll see you, if you can make it this Saturday at 9 o'clock at 24 Byland Avenue. Good night.